Hey Rayleigh, and anybody else watching, and welcome back to another message from your father. We are continuing through Job, today 21, 22, 23, and 24. So we have been looking at the back and forth. Specifically, yesterday we looked at the back and forth between Job, Eliphaz, and Zophar. Today it's going to be the back and forth between Eliphaz and Job. And again, it's going to continue to get more and more personal. So we'll look at that, and again, all of that starting at 21. Then Job replied, "Listen carefully to my words. Let this be the consolation you give me. Bear with me while I speak, and after I have spoken, mock on. Is my complaint directed to a man? Why should I not be impatient? Look at me and be astonished. Clap your hand over your mouth. When I think about this, I am terrified. Trembling seizes my body. Why do the wicked live on, growing old and increasing in power? They see their children established around them, their offspring before their eyes. Their homes are safe and free from fear. The rod of God is not upon them. Their bulls never fail to breed. Their cows calf and do not miscarry. They send forth their children as a flock. Their little ones dance about. They sing to the music of the tambourine and the harp. They make merry the sound of the flute. They spend their years in prosperity and go down to the grave in peace. They say to God, 'Leave us alone. We have no desire to know your ways. Who is the Almighty that we should serve him? What would we gain by praying to him?' But their prosperity is not in their own hands. So I stand aloof from the counsel of the wicked. Yet, how often is the lamp of the wicked snuffed out? How often does calamity come upon them? The fate God allots in his anger. How often are they like straw before the wind, like chaff swept away by a gale? It is said, God stores up a man's punishment for his sons. Let him repay the man himself so that he will know it. Let his own eyes see his destruction. Let him drink of the wrath of the Almighty. For what does he care about the family he leaves behind when his allotted months come to an end? Can anyone teach knowledge to God, since he judges even the highest? One man dies in full vigor, completely secure and at ease, his body well nourished, his bones rich with marrow. Another man dies in bitterness of soul, never having enjoyed anything good. Side by side they lie about in the dust, and worms cover them both. I know full well what you are thinking, the schemes by which you would wrong me. You say, 'Where now is this great man's house, the tents where the wicked men lived?' Have you never questioned those who travel? Have you paid no regard to their accounts, that the evil man is spared from the day of calamity, that he is delivered from the day of wrath? Who denounces his conduct to his face? Who repays him for what he has done? He is carried to the grave, and watch is kept over his tomb. The soil in the valley is sweet to him. All men follow after him, and a countless throng goes before him. So how can you console me with your nonsense? Nothing is left of your answers but falsehood." Chapter 22. Then Eliphaz the Temanite replied, "Can a man be of benefit to God? Can even a wise man benefit him? What pleasure would it give the Almighty if you were righteous? What would he gain if your ways were blameless? For it is for your piety that he rebukes you and brings charges against you. Is not your wickedness great? Are not your sins endless? You demanded security from your brothers for no reason. You stripped men of their clothing, leaving them naked. You gave no water for the weary, and you withheld food from the hungry, though you were a powerful man, owning land, an honored man, living on it. And you sent widows away empty-handed, and broke the strength of the fatherless. That is why snares are all around you, why sudden peril terrifies you, why it is so dark you cannot see, and why a flood of water covers you. Is not God in the heights of heaven? And see how lofty are the highest stars. Yet you say, 'What does God know?' Does he judge through such darkness? Thick clouds veil him, so he does not see us as he goes about in the vaulted heavens. Will you keep to the old path that evil men have trod? They were carried off before their time, their foundations washed away by a flood. They said to God, 'Leave us alone. What can the Almighty do to us?' Yet it was he who filled their houses with good things. So I stand aloof from the counsel of the wicked. The righteous see their ruin and rejoice. The innocent mock them, saying, 'Surely our foes are destroyed,' and fire devours their wealth. Submit to God and be at peace with him. In this way, prosperity will come to you. Accept instruction from his mouth and lay up his words in your heart. If you return to the Almighty, you will be restored. If you remove wickedness far from your tent and assign your nuggets to the dust, your gold of Ophir to the rocks and ravines, then the Almighty will be your gold, the choicest silver for you. Surely then you will find delight in the Almighty, and will lift up your face to God. You will pray to him, and he will hear you, and you will fulfill your vows. What you decide on will be done, and light will shine on your ways. When men are brought low, and you say, lift them up, then he will save the downcast. He will deliver one who is not innocent, who will be delivered through the cleanliness of your hands. Chapter 23. Then Job replied, even today my complaint is bitter. His hand is heavy in spite of my groaning. If only I knew where to find him, if only I could go to his dwelling, I would state my case before him and fill my mouth with arguments. I would find out what he would answer me and consider what he would say. Would he oppose me with great power? No, he would not press charges against me. There an upright man could present his case before him. I would be delivered forever from my judge. But if I go to the east, he is not there. If I go to the west, I do not find him. When he is at work in the north, I do not see him. When he turns to the south, I catch no glimpse of him. But he knows the way that I take. When he has tested me, I will come forth as gold. My feet have closely followed his steps. I have kept to this way without turning aside. I have not departed from the commands of his lips. I have treasured his words of his mouth more than my daily bread. But he stands alone. Who can oppose him? He does whatever he pleases. He carries out his decree against me, and many such plans he still has in store. That is why I am terrified before him. When I think of all this, I fear him. God has made my heart faint. The Almighty has terrified me. Yet I am not silenced by the darkness, by the thick darkness that covers my face. Chapter 24. Why does the Almighty not set times for judgment? Why must those who know him look in vain for such days? Men move boundary stones. They pasture flocks they have stolen. They drive away the orphan's donkey. They take the widow's ox in pledge. They thrust the needy from the path and force all the poor of the land into hiding. Like wild donkeys in the desert, the poor go about their labor of foraging food. The wasteland provides food for their children. They gather fodder in the fields and glean in the vineyards of the wicked. Lacking clothes, they spend the night naked. They have nothing to cover themselves in the cold. They are drenched by the mountain rains and hug the rocks for lack of shelter. The fatherless child is snatched from the breast. The infant of the poor is seized for a debt. Lacking clothes, they go about naked. They carry the sheaves, but still go hungry. They crush olives among the terraces. They tread the wine presses, yet suffer thirst. The groans of the dying rise from the city, and the souls of the wounded cry out for help. But God charges no one with wrongdoing. There are those who rebel against the light, who do not know its ways or stay in its paths. When the daylight is gone, the murderer rises up and kills the poor and needy. In the night he steals forth like a thief. The eye of the adulterer watches for dusk. He thinks, no eye will see me, for he keeps his face concealed. In the dark men break into houses, but by day they shut themselves in. They want nothing to do with the light. For all of them, their darkness is their morning. They make friends with the terrors of the darkness. Yet they are foam on the surface of the water. Their portion of the land is cursed, so that no one goes to the vineyards. As heat and drought snatch away the melted snow, so the grave snatches away those who have sinned. The womb forgets them. The worm feeds on them. Evil men are no longer remembered. They are broken like a tree. They prey on the barren and childless woman, and to the widow show no kindness. But God drags away the mighty by his power. Though they become established, they have no assurance of life. He may let them rest in the feeling of security, but his eyes are on their ways. For a little while they are exalted, and then they are gone. They are brought low and gathered up like all others. They are cut off like heads of grain. If this is not so, who can prove me false and reduce my words to nothing? So again, stuff is heating up, but Job has some really wise words here. And I believe, hopefully I don't misquote it here, but I believe in Psalm we see that as well, from the psalmist just looking at the evil that falls on good men and the evil that falls on bad men, the blessings and benefit that fall on righteous and good men, and the benefits that seem to happen to the wicked as well. And yet Job seems to be saying, hey, why is there that time for judgment? I want that. I want those that are doing evil to be judged now, so that we see rapidly, we see very quickly the evil being judged. And that's something we can agree with. I mean, I would think that even looking at the evilness that's happening in the world today, that's not to say that we don't sin as well, that we as believers don't sin, because we absolutely do. But our sin has been paid for. But seeing the wickedness of the world and seeing it not being judged immediately can be pretty tough, especially some of the atrocities that are going on, and they're just increasing in number and in severity. And yet, God's timing is perfect, and God will judge them for that. And God will judge them here now or here later, but know that in the end, at eternity, they will be judged for eternity. So that's something really that I want you to be mindful of. And my prayer for you is that you recognize that. As we talked about yesterday, still communicating in humility, that is so, so important. But then recognizing that also God has that perfect timing. So approaching his judgment with that humility, because we don't know why God judges in the time that he does. But as Job points out, really, truly, who are we to question a perfect, impossibly large God? Well, we're not to. We can pray for understanding, absolutely. But most important thing is that there's trust, and that respect and reverence. So, so important. Anyway, know that I am praying for you, that I love you so, so much, really. For anyone else watching, as always, appreciate you. And I'll plan on seeing you tomorrow. Have a good one.